a special All-Star edition of NBA Showtime. Here's your host, Bob Costas.
The Alamo Dome in San Antonio. We're about to cap a wild, almost carnival-like weekend as the East and West get together once again for the NBA All-Star Game. The West won last year in Phoenix. In effect, a home floor for them. Won by 27. Mitch Richmond was the MVP. Grant Hill, Reggie Miller, and others leading the East squad out onto the floor. And on the other side of the Alamo Dome, the Western Conference All-Stars should soon be making their entrance, although not quite yet. But trust us, they'll be here. Hi, everybody. Bob Costas, along with Julius Erving and special guest Magic Johnson. Now, I don't know who should get top billing here. If we go strictly by numbers, 16 All-Star games, ABA and NBA for Doc, 12 for Magic, missed one, actually played in 11, picked for 12, missed one due to injury. They were each the All-Star MVP twice. We will open with the incumbent on this program, Dr. J. Always a special game, a special weekend.
Well, no question about it. You know, all I used to bring to the game was what God gave me, and I tried to get a good night's rest. I think this game will be better than last year's game. Two reasons. One, the presence of Michael Jordan. Two, the coaches. They're both tough, defensive-minded coaches. They're not going to tolerate guys not playing defense. They'll hook a guy in a minute if he doesn't want to try and stop somebody.
All right, Doc. Now, with Magic's return about a week and a half ago, a rare honor featured on the cover of Time, Newsweek, U.S. News and World Report, and Sports Illustrated, somehow missing Ladies' Home Journal and Popular Mechanics, but still a pretty good week, and it's safe to say that had you come back just a bit earlier, you'd be down there instead of up here tonight.
Well, I would love to have been down there, Bob. This is a player's game. This is the game where the players can put on a show for the fans. They want to come down and show them something special, something they haven't seen during the regular season. So you're going to look for some trick plays and some dunks and just a little bit of magic.
But without the Magic in attendance, at least not in uniform. Anything in particular you're looking for?
Yeah, look for the East to get out and run. They want to keep the pace up where they can get Grant Hill, Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, and Penny Hardaway out into the fast break. They're the best open court players in the game today. Look for the West to pound it inside. They want to go to Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, Akeem Olajuwon. So look for the East to go fast. Look for the West to go slow.
Ad-lib stuff here, folks. You might have a future as a broadcaster. Like Magic, of course, Michael Jordan came out of retirement, so this is his first All-Star game in 3 years. He's with teammate Scottie Pippen. They're both with Jim Gray.
All right, thank you very much, Bob. Michael, the West has won 3 of the last 4 All-Star games. Are you ready to put your stamp on this game and not turn this thing over to the young guys?
Yeah, I think it's time for us to get ourselves back on track, especially the East. I mean, it's been a while since we won, and I know from what I've heard in the locker room thus far, no one wants to lose this game.
Now, Michael, you have said during the season that you kind of think that it's Scotty's team, the Bulls. Do you feel as though, while you've been acknowledged as the best player in the world, that maybe Scotty has taken the title?
I think Scotty's shown that he certainly has grown to be a great player in this game. And I think when I said that earlier, I didn't really have any reservations about saying that. I think you know, he's been the leader of this team for the last couple of years, and it was his team. And you know, I'm just coming back to try to help him as much as I can to get us back to where we were.
Scotty, your thoughts on that? Are you ready to take the mantle? Those are awful nice words from Michael.
Oh, they are. They're great compliments coming from one of the greatest players to play the game. And, you know, as I always said, the guys on this team now have been able to respond to me due to Michael's absence over a couple of years. But, you know, when Michael came back, I welcomed him with open arms. And, you know, I feel like that, you know, we are the sole leaders of this team. And he can say what he wants to. I need his leadership as well.
Scotty, Michael, thank you. Let's leave it this way, Bob. They're the best 2 players in the world. Back to you.
Okay, Jim, thanks a lot. And by the way, more from Michael Jordan at halftime in an extended interview with Dr. J. When we come back on the pregame show, we'll hear from Penny and Shaq, and we'll also take a look back at All-Star Saturday night. Activities were tipped off by the rookies. One of the early choices for Rookie of the Year, Damon Stoudemire, led the East to a 2-point win. The Raptors' point guard had 19 points, 11 assists, and the game's MVP award. The long-distance shootout was next, and Tim Legler of the Bullets showed why he won the CBA's version of this event 2 years ago. He outshot Dennis Scott in the final round for the 3-point crown. And finally, on the 20th anniversary of the old ABA slam dunk contest, Brent Barry of the Clippers electrified the crowd with a slam that was worthy of Dr. J and Michael Jordan. Barry, the new slam dunk champ. Well, Doc, as an old ABA guy myself, how well I remember that foul line skywalk in '76 in Denver. Then a few years later, Michael Jordan equaled it, and now there are 3 with Brent Barry.
No question about it. You know, contrary to reports, I gave Brett a perfect score on that dunk. Now, I look at his game, and I see a little bit of Pistol Pete. I see a little bit of Dr. J. If he could get down the Rick Barry jump shot, this kid is destined to be an all-pro.
If he starts shooting the free throws underhanded, look out. The warm-ups continuing now at the Alamo Dome for the NBA All-Star Game. Down we go to Hannah Storm, who's with the two hometown participants.
And, Bob, you were talking about the old ABA days. There hasn't been an All-Star Game here since then in 1975. What kind of a whirlwind has it been for you two hosts, Sean Elliott and David Robinson?
Oh, it's been crazy. I tell you what, the city is just in a buzz. We went out to the Planet Hollywood last night, 110,000 people outside, so it's been crazy.
That's a lot of people, almost, well, quite a bit of the population of the city. Sean, how gratifying is it for you to be named to this team by the coaches? You haven't been an All-Star for 3 years, and to have it happen here in your hometown.
Well, after going to Detroit and having that year, and I knew I had to come back and work hard just to get my reputation back to a decent level. So it feels good. It's an honor whenever the coaches are going to pick you, because those guys study you, they watch the film, so whenever they pick you, it's an honor.
You guys have a terrific game today, and the only strategy listed on the West bulletin board is keys to the game. Don't double Shaq. He's standing by now with Ahmad Rashad.
All right, thanks, Anna. Now, listen, last year the game was not competitive. You guys got wore out, got beat by 27 points. The West has won the last 3 out of 4, so I figured I'd do my part by instigating.
Well, that was last year. This is a new team. We're better. I think we're going to win this year.
All right, Shaq, you got your work cut out for you. Now, usually you play David or you play Akeem separately. Every time you're going to get a fresh one today.
I'm just going to go out and play hard. We're just going to try to win. Like Kenny said, it's a new team. We got a new bunch of guys, and I think we're going to win today, too.
Now, every time you have come up with a new shot, you've been coming up with new shots almost every other week. You got a new one for today?
You do. I can't tell you what it is.
You're going to just let us see it. And Penny, you've probably seen it.
I've seen it all the time, but I can't tell you either. I just have to let them bring it out.
We'll sit back and we'll watch.
I'm shooting 5 threes, though.
Let me shoot a 3 and send it back up to Bob.
All right, we'll look forward to that. 5 threes to be attempted by Shaq. Still ahead, more from Magic Johnson and a guy who's playing pretty well of late. There he is, the Suns' Charles Barkley. We'll be back. Moving toward the tip-off at the Alamo Dome, scheduled for 6:37 Eastern Time. For many of you, this might be the first look at Jason Kidd of the Dallas Mavericks, co-rookie of the year with Grant Hill a year ago, presently leading the NBA in triple-doubles. Great open-court player. This kind of game can be a terrific showcase for him. Right now, we go to a guy who lived a dream last year and a guy who is the dream. Clyde Drexler and Akeem Olajuwon with Hannah.
Thanks, Bob. Well, Akeem Olajuwon is right now observing a month-long Muslim fasting feast and has not been able to eat since 5 a.m. this morning. How are you feeling now, and when do you plan on eating? Can you eat during the game at all?
Well, halftime. The good news is we have David and Mutombo on the bench. So I will go out there and do my best and try to think mentally tough. And we'll see more of you in the second half, you think, playing? I hope so. All right, you offered to give your starting spot to David Robinson. Why did you do that? Well, at home, he's definitely a starter, and he deserves to start. Okay, Clyde, almost a year ago to the day that you were traded to Houston, so much has happened to you since the last All-Star game. Can you reflect on the past year a bit?
Oh, it's been great. The game is fun. We're happy to be here. We're having a good time, and this should be a fantastic game.
Guys, have a great time. Thank you. Have a good meal at halftime. We'll check in with you at the second half. And now over to Jim Gray with their teammate on the west side, Charles Barkley.
Well, I'm with a very comfortable, as usual, Charles Barkley. Charles, usually you use the All-Star game as a platform to jump off a bridge. You've been relatively quiet this weekend, so here's your chance. What do you have that's outrageous today?
Well, I'm just chilling this weekend, relaxing, enjoying the All-Star game. You know, the past is the past. I've had a great weekend.
About the game. Last year it was not very competitive at all. You guys kind of freelanced and it was a free-for-all. Will it be more competitive now because Michael's back?
Well, I think that Coach Carr told us that he felt a little tension from Coach Jackson and other players when they were talking on their press conference. So we're prepared to come out and go at them.
Charles, good to see you. Thank you for not kissing me this year. Back to you, Bob.
Almost choked him there at the end. Charles in a mellow, no controversy mode here. Abbreviated pregame show because we want to show you all the player introductions so quickly as we clear out. Closing thoughts, Doc.
Well, I'll tell you, You guys both know we're in the Alamo Dome, which is a football arena. You probably saw Jim Gray's hair blowing in the wind a little bit. Nobody knows the draft in this building and how to play in it better than David Robinson and Sean Elliott. They probably know where the dead spots are, too. So I look for one of those two to be the MVP today.
Or maybe co-MVPs in the fashion of Stockton and Malone a few years ago in Salt Lake City. Magic.
No. Michael Jordan will be the MVP. I think he wants to come out here and prove something, show the people something that he's still the greatest in the world. Michael Jordan, the MVP.
Magic, thanks a lot. Always a pleasure. Doc back with us at halftime. In fact, he'll have an interview at halftime with Michael Jordan. Time now for us to step aside and let you meet the players for the 46th NBA All-Star Game. Marv Albert, Matt Guokas, and the snapper Steve Jones will call it. We'll see you at halftime. The NBA on NBC continues after these messages from your local station. Enjoy the All-Star Game, everybody.
City in San Antonio, Texas, the site of a whirlwind of NBA All-Star activities the past 4 days, and a capacity crowd better than 36,000 turning out of the Alamo Dome for this 46th annual NBA All-Star Game. We're moments away from the introduction of the players. Hi, everybody. Marv Albert, along with Matt Guokas, Steve Snapper Jones, and Matt within the glorious galaxy of stars here in San Antonio for tonight's game. Michael Jordan still the marquee figure, and you know that Michael wants to make his mark. And this is first All-Star appearance since 1993.
Well, Michael just can't show up at these All-Star games. He becomes the main attraction. And look what he's done in 8 All-Star appearances. Never one to be shy. He's put up an average of 19 shots a game, and he has the best all-time scoring average of 22 a game. And for this All-Star game, it won't hurt to have his own coach, Phil Jackson, to give him the minutes, and his own partner and playmaker, Scottie Pippen, to get him some shots.
And, Steve, some of the East players have made the point repeatedly that they feel their starting lineup is among the best of all time in All-Star competition. You sense the West a bit annoyed about all the attention that the East has been able to garner?
Marvin, I really do. I don't think it's exactly bulletin board material, but it is a source of pain for them. This group has their own credentials, and they're very dazzling in their own right. Clyde Drexler, a member of Dream Team. Jason Kidd, his backcourt partner, co-rookie of the year a year ago. In the middle, the guy that dominated the last 2 years in the playoffs and the MVP, Hakeem Olajuwon. Charles Barkley, 1993 MVP, and John Kemp, 4-time NBA All-Star. Now, Marv, that is not exactly puppy check.
We'll have Matt, I think, analyze that a little bit further on. We should point out also that the West has won 3 of the last 4 over the East. We are set now for the introduction of the lineups, and for that, we go to the public address voice here at the Alamo Dome, Stan Kelly.
This one's for you. Pump up the volume, pump up the volume, pump up the volume.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to meet the 1996 NBA All-Stars. The participants in the 1996 NBA All-Star Game. First, the Eastern Conference, led by the coaches from the Chicago Bulls, head coach Phil Jackson. Coaches are Jim Clemens, Jimmy Rogers, and Tex Winter. The trainer from the Indiana Pacers is David Craig. excitement from the outside, making his first All-Star appearance from the Charlotte Hornets, Glenn Rice. This point guard earned his first All-Star berth by accounting for nearly 40% of his team's total production from the Cleveland Cavaliers, Terrell Brandon. In only his third NBA season, he's already a two-time All-Star, leading his team in rebounding, assists, and minutes from the Milwaukee Bucks, Vin Baker. This hard-working big man is equally adept when asked to score, rebound, or pass. An All-Star in only his second season for the Washington Bullets, Juwan Howard. He has fueled the fire in Miami, ranking in the top 10 in the NBA in scoring and block shots from the Miami Heat, Alonzo Mourning. One of the best pure shooters in the league, this three-time All-Star specializes in last-second game-winning shots from the Indiana Pacers, Reggie Miller. Appearing in his 10th All-Star game, the 7-foot center holds nearly every Knickerbocker record from the New York Knicks, Patrick Ewing. And now the starting lineup for the Eastern Conference. At forward, he led the Foot Locker All-Star balloting with more than 1 million votes in each of his 2 seasons in the NBA. From the Detroit Pistons, Grant Hill. At the other forward, making his 6th All-Star appearance and winner of the 1994 All-Star MVP award from the Chicago Bulls, Scottie Pippen. At center, a man who led San Antonio Cole High School to a 36-0 record in the Texas State Championship in 1989 from the Orlando Magic, Shaquille O'Neal. At guard, he's one of the new breed of versatile players who can beat you inside and outside, making his 2nd All-Star appearance from the Orlando Magic. And at the other guard, a 3-time NBA Most Valuable Player, 3 times Final MVP, and 7-time NBA scoring champ from the Chicago Bulls, Michael, NBA Eastern Conference All-Star. Now, your Western Conference All-Star. They are led by the coaches from the Seattle Supersonics, head coach George Karl. The assistant coaches are Dwayne Casey, Terry Stotts, and Bob Wise. And from the San Antonio Spurs, the trainer, John Anderson. One of the league's premier defensive players, this exciting point guard is back for his 3rd straight All-Star game from the Seattle Supersonics, Gary Payton. This 4-time All-Star scored 22 points in 23 minutes to win the Most Valuable Player award in last year's game from the Sacramento Kings, Mitch Richmond. Back for his 8th consecutive All-Star game. This point guard is the only player to have more than 10,000 assists. The 1993 co-All-Star MVP from the Utah Jazz, John Stockton. The reigning Defensive Player of the Year. This center led the NBA in block shots for the last 2 seasons. Playing in his 3rd All-Star game from the Denver Nuggets, Dikembe Mutombo. An 8-time All-Star, the 1989 All-Star MVP, and co-winner of the 93 award from the Utah Jazz forward, Karl Malone. This 2-time All-Star is having a career year. He leads his team in three-pointers and minutes played. From your San Antonio Spurs, Sean Elliott. The 1995 NBA Most Valuable Player and 6-time All-Star. You know him as the Admiral from the San Antonio Spurs, David And now the Western Conference starting lineup. At guard, the 1995 co-Rookie of the Year and the first Dallas player to start an NBA All-Star game. From the Mavericks, Jason Kidd. At the other guard, this 9-time All-Star won an NBA ring on his 3rd trip to the finals last season. From the Houston Rockets, Clyde Drexler. At center, this 11-time All-Star has led his team to the last 2 NBA championships, taking home the finals MVP each time from the Houston Rockets, Hakeem Olajuwon. At forward, he leads his team in points, rebounds, and blocks. Back for his 4th straight All-Star game from the Seattle Supersonics, Shawn Kemp. And at the other forward, he leads the West in the All-Star balloting. The 1991 All-Star Game MVP, playing in his 10th All-Star game from the Phoenix Suns, Charles Barkley. The 1996 NBA All-Star. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the presentation of the colors by the Lackland Air Force Base Joint Services Honor Guard. This rising star just won the American Music Award as Best New Country Artist and has been nominated for 4 Grammys this year. Singing the Canadian national anthem, Shania Twain.
Oh, Canada.
to honor America with the singing of the national anthem, please welcome one of the stars of Tejano and country music, recently nominated for 2 Grammys, the pride of San Antonio, Emilio! Accompanying Emilio is the Incarnate Word College Choir of San Antonio.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam? Whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous stars, o'er the rampart we were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red flame, the bombs bursting in air, came through the night, that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of free and the
Two beautiful renditions. It has been a festive scene here in San Antonio the past 4 days. Now we're set for the game back in the River City in a moment.
NBA All-Star Game is brought to you by Miller Lite. With a great taste of an ice-cold Miller Lite, life is good. By Chevrolet Trucks, the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road. And by Reebok.
Welcome back to San Antonio, Texas, the home of the Spurs, who lead the Midwest Division at 31-14, second best record in the West behind the Seattle Supersonics. The officials for this 46th NBA All-Star Game, Ed T. Rush, Ronnie Nunn, and Ed Middleton. Earlier today, Phil Jackson was telling us that he plans to surprise the West and go full court pressure at the start of this first quarter. Matt, we thought he was kidding.
Well, that may be the first time that any coach has mentioned anything at all to do with team defense before an All-Star game, at least in recent memory.
Well, the one thing it'll do, it'll produce some easy scoring opportunities for some teams, so we'll find out which one is prepared for the Phil Jackson surprise.
Well, let's see if Phil does follow through. Shaquille O'Neal and Akeem Olajuwon on the opening tip. Ronnie Nunn working his first All-Star game, put it into the air, and it's controlled by Clyde Drexler of the Houston Rockets. Here's Jason Kidd, who comes off a sensational 25-assist game the other night, and Sean Kemp. So the West with a 2-0 lead. Penny Hardaway of the Orlando Magic being played by Kidd. Shaquille O'Neal. And he goes to the jump hook. Here comes Kidd for the West. He has Drexler with him. Drexler from Kidd.
Well, these games are generally, the tone is set by the point guards, and right away we've seen Jason Kidd create 2 baskets for the Western squad.
Scottie Pippen. Pippen on the drive. Well, we haven't seen any full court pressure here.
I think Phil meant after a free throw.
Yes. Oh, and again the outside attempt by Sean Kemp. The West with a 4-2 lead. We're just underway. Here's Kidd. He has Olajuwon and Drexler. Olajuwon. And Grant Hill of the Detroit Pistons pops it down to Penny Hardaway. Puts the move on Kemp.
Marv, let me ask you a question. You've been around a lot of these coaches and done a lot of All-Star games. Why do they even pose that they would throw out any strategy?
You know, Phil said it with a straight face to both Matt and myself, and we bought it. And then I said, no, wait a second, you're not kidding. He said, no. The game is young, Steve. And Kemp fouled by Hill. Sean Kemp averaging 21 a game, 12 rebounds in his 7th season with the Seattle Supersonics. Hit with that foul. The steal by Pippen. Hardaway for Jordan. In the East, a 6-4 lead.
A very unselfish play there by Penny Hardaway. Off the feed from Scottie Pippen was wide open for a layup, but dropped it off for Jordan to get him involved.
I wouldn't have done it. The man pulled my pants down in the opening lineup. No, I wouldn't have given him the ball.
Yes, some early comical moments. Michael Jordan getting to the O'Neal with the catch of the bucket. Jordan pulling Hardaway's pants awry as the player introductions were run down right at the start.
And even little Penny was embarrassed.
Last season in Phoenix, the West beat the East 139 to 112. The East has won 28. The West has won 17 in all-star play. The East in the midst of an 8-0 run. Olajuwon not able to end it. Behind the back.
Well, we're going to see plenty of spectacular passes amongst all these players. The question is, will they have enough feel for each other and enough timing to catch them?
Shaquille with the ball fake. It counts, and the foul. Foul committed by Olajuwon, and Shaquille O'Neal to the line.
Well, Jason Kidd always hanging around the basket at both ends to rebound. The passing so quick that the Eastern squad never saw it coming, and Barkley said, look what I found for an easy lay. They're going to have a lot of fun playing with Jason Kidd, a real-life candidate to possibly be a member of Team 3.
Well, you know, this is a big opportunity for Jason Kidd to really kind of make a statement about the Dallas franchise. They've been down all year. People have really not looked at what he's done, but he's coming off some terrific ball game before the All-Star game.
Yes, a very disappointing season for the Mavericks, and there is Kidd again. You know, Jason earlier in the week was said to be a doubtful because of a lower back problem, and he told us no way he would miss this. Michael Jordan able to line drive at home. The East with a 12-8 lead with 3.5 gone by.
You know, Mark, all of these players, and Matt, you know it too, always say before the game, I'm not sure I want to go, but once they get here, they're happy they come, and it's really hard to miss an all-star game when you've got the opportunity.
Charles Barkley cuts it to a 2-point lead. East on fire here at the start, and Grant Hill continues the assault. Hill with the steal. Pippen gives it back. Here's Hill. Grant Hill.
Well, you got to go to the record book. This is going to be like they used to play basketball in the 60s in these games. 47 points were scored in 1961 in the first quarter, and we might see it happen today. You're seeing a team from the West not playing much defense, looking to score a lot of points.
And a holding foul indicated. It's on Shaquille O'Neal. A huge crowd on hand here at the Alamo Dome. 36,000. Will not set an NBA All-Star record. The record is 44-7. Michael Jordan getting down. Back in 1989 at the Houston Astrodome, they had better than 44,000. The East up by 8 points. The East 9 of 10 from the field. They've hit their last 9. Barkley gets inside.
Nobody really challenging shots inside, and so far, both teams shooting a pretty good percentage from the perimeter as well. That means a lot of high scoring, Steve.
Hill beats Kemp. That was too easy. As the East has hit its last 10 shots.
No, they made a deal. You let me have one, and I'm going to let you have one on the other side. We'll see if Grant Hill turns the Rain Man loose.
Drexler setting up against Jordan. Olajuwon.
And I think the game that's the hardest, and trying to get that in, is for the centers, because they don't get to put on a show.
Kidd again, flipping it back. And Kidd the recipient of the pass from Barkley. But a 3-second violation has been solved. Ed Rush doing it with a smile on his face. Timeout called, 6:41 left, first quarter. Well, Michael Jordan off to the fast start, 3 of 3 from the field, off to a fast start on the comedy meter also during the player.
Judges has been looking for Michael every time out on the floor, passed up a layup to dish off an easy one for Michael Jordan, caught him on a breakaway, as those two have clicked so far early in this ballgame.
But you know what that tells us? Michael Jordan is really about having fun. The second time around, he is enjoying himself, and I think even this All-Star game is going to be a real enjoyable experience. Before it was all business.
Shaquille O'Neal coming up short. The East had hit their previous 10 shots. Beautiful pass. Pippen getting it to Hill. Grant Hill is hit on his first 4. He has 8 points. The East 22 and the West 14. We have 6:10 remaining in this first quarter. The NBA All-Star game from the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. 3-point attempt missed by Drexler. Shaquille O'Neal, who on the pregame portion of our program said that he would attempt 5 3-point shots. And he had an open right there.
Choice of the day is the layup. So a lot of these guys are going to get open court play and a chance to really score and do something spectacular. Why bother to shoot the 3?
Well, if you just run the floor at all, Jason Kidd will find you with simple passes and with spectacular passes. There, the no-look touch, and Sean Kemp, who runs the floor as well as any big forward in basketball, is the recipient of the Kidd assist.
3 assists for Kidd, and the Admiral David Robinson. Heard it from the crowd as he checks in for the first substitution. David Robinson getting a long standing ovation during the player introductions. Barkley came back. The Kid was looking for help. The East with a 6-point lead. Drexler with the step. Here's Kemp. Rebound Robinson. David Robinson. In a 7th NBA season, playing in a 7th All-Star game. Kidd off the steal. It's Barkley on the wing, and here's Barkley bringing the West within 2. As you see Dan Aykroyd enjoying the action.
Now, Matt, you've got that coach's mentality. Is it really possible to coach in a game like this?
No, not at all. Absolutely no chance at all. First of all, these players are not playing any defense, so that throws everything out of whack. There's the defense for West.
Nice timing now. Oh, did not work. Slightly overthrown in center for Kemp, and the same at the other end.
Well, the strategy is run fast, jump high, shoot straight, and try to keep the lob passes in the building, as this one's sent out of there beautifully by David Robinson, who has made no bones about it. He wants to have a big game here in front of his hometown fans.
Here's Kemp. 8 unanswered points by the West, and they've tied the game at 22. We're coming up on 4 minutes remaining in the first quarter. 1 point, the East hit 10 consecutive shots. Jordan got the pick. Yes, Michael Jordan providing a 2-point lead for the East.
Now, Marv, I want you to think about this, because the next time Sean Kemp scores, he's got a little trotting thing that he does. I want you to describe it and tell me what it is, because it's almost a strut all of its own.
Is it something that can be said on the air?
Yeah.
Drexler off the nice pass from Robinson. And the West has tied the game at 24. I thought you were referring to perhaps an off-color move. I know Sean would think in those terms. Beautiful move by Hardaway. The East 26 and the West 24. Everybody was extremely nice to Jason Kidd the last couple of days, knowing that they wanted to get the basketball, and he has been delivering, picking up the assists here in the first quarter.
Well, of course, George Karl said a couple of weeks ago that he felt his man, Gary Payton, should have been voted onto the All-Star team, or John Stockton ahead of Jason Kidd. Since then, they have kissed and made up to explain to Jason that he was just sticking up for his own player, but he really does know and appreciate how good a player Jason Kidd is.
Shaquille O'Neal committed that foul, and Gary Payton of the Seattle Supersonics has come in along with Sean Elliott of the San Antonio Spurs. Pippen starting back. He's guarded by Elliott. And here is Hill, who has been hot. Rebound swept by Drexler. Drexler on the run. sets the tempo here in this first quarter.
And that pass was rising. Sean Kemp just actually stopped that pass from going out of bounds and then threw it down.
And we have a timeout. So the game is tied at 26. Phil Jackson calling for time with 2:43 to go in this opening quarter. Back in San Antonio, let's go to the Dean of Sideline Reporting, Ahmad Rashad, who was with that old cut-up, Michael Jordan.
All right, thanks, Mark. Speaking of cutting up, man, what was the whole deal with pulling Anthony's pants down on the warm-up?
Well, yeah, so I decided to pass it along.
But you know, I think what it showed is that when you came back now, you have a much more loose attitude about playing this game of basketball.
Yeah, I feel better about my whole attitude towards the game and towards, you know, some of my responsibilities to the game. And I enjoy being around the young players. You know, I mean, a lot of those guys are very exciting, and I enjoy them.
All right. I'll see you later on. Come on back and talk to me. All right, Marv.
Thank you, Ahmad. Substitutions for the East squad: Patrick Ewing of the New York Knicks, Reggie Miller of the Indiana Pacers, Terrell Brandon of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and Vin Baker of the Milwaukee Bucks have checked in. That's Baker with a beautiful move and fouled by Kemp. Vin Baker having another superb season, averaging 21 points, 10 rebounds, playing in his second All-Star game and going to the line.
Now, Matt, that makes a statement for me. See, Sean Kemp attempted to play defense that time, and he still got scored on. So what difference does it make?
Well, right, some instincts just will never go away. Sean Kemp is a very aggressive player. Did get a hand up on that shot. Too aggressive with it on the foul, but nice to see Vin Baker get off to a good start. He admittedly was very nervous last year and never really got into the flow.
The East has hit 14 of 20 from the field at one stretch, 10 in a row. They lead by 3 points. We come up on 2 minutes left in the first quarter. Ewing, and he drew the foul committed by Robinson.
Another defensive effort, this time by David Robinson, trying to challenge the pass. I think I remember a play earlier, David actually tried to block a shot. Again, the good defensive players, it's just something that comes natural to them around the basket or when somebody's going to take a shot to challenge it. The big problem defensively in an All-Star game is transition defense. Neither team is just serious about getting back, and that's why you see so many open court plays.
One we've never had, well, I guess maybe Bill Russell would classify as a defensive type of player that could change this kind of a game. But in the modern era that we've been watching on television, we've never had a defensive player dominate the game. I mean, it's always been offense, and I would suspect that that's what it's going to be this afternoon, and you just have to find out who's got the torch.
Well, Mitch Richmond, last year's All-Star Game MVP, has come on, as has Karl Malone of the Utah Jazz, and Robinson got squeezed. Foul committed by Patrick Ewing.
Number 33, Patrick Ewing.
The East 31 and the West 26. Glenn Rice of the Charlotte Hornets on the floor for the first time. Oh, Elliott not expecting the return pass from Richmond.
The three guys that I think are going to be the most nervous out here: Terrell Brandon, Sean Elliott, and Glenn Rice. This is a big moment for all of them, and they may have a tough time making their own statement.
There's Payton from Malone. Back to Payton, and he'll put the move on Brandon. 3-point lead for the East. Terrell Brandon taking over the point guard duties when Mark Price went down last season. One of the major reasons that the Cavaliers have been a big surprise. Here's Elliott. And he stepped out of bounds. Elliott going baseline, but stepped out.
You mentioned Terrell Brandon. After the Cavaliers got off to an 0-7 start, yeah, everybody had to have their heads swirling in Cleveland as to what was going to happen. But
are you talking about because they had to listen to the czar, Mike Fratello? Is that what you're indicating?
Pretty much. His head was definitely swirling. But this team has gotten themselves together, 26-13 since.
And Brandon able to convert, giving us the 5-point lead. But Robinson gets it right back. The East 33, the West 30. We're down to 40 seconds left in the first quarter. Baker off the deflection. And they swing it out to Rice.
You know, that Glenn Rice better not make a three-pointer today because, you know, he cost me money last night. I had him in the three-point shootout as a defending champ, and in a flame. I mean, that was the best three-point shooting contest we've had. The defending champ goes down. He'll probably make 10 today.
What a performance by Tim Legler of the Washington Bullets.
He was terrific, and, you know, it's really nice to see him do that. He bounced around, had a real tough time making it in the league, and then to step up and to have that kind of performance in front of a huge crowd was terrific.
Karl Malone brings the West within one, and the East with a plan here. They will hold for a final shot.
And Matt put his hand up. He signaled over there to Jackson and said, give me some coaching now.
Final seconds of the quarter. Rice way off. Richmond gives it up to David Robinson as this first quarter comes to a close. Michael Jordan, a 4 for 4, 8-point first quarter. And Sean Kemp running the floor effectively, 5 of 7 for his 10. 60% shooting for the East, 61 by the West. The East by 1 after 1 here at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio.
Let's go. Get out and play. Give whatever you've got. You like that? Gatorade. You're gonna get thirsty. Gatorade. Life is a sport. Drink it up.
You're watching the 1996 NBA All-Star Game on NBC.
Well, the 1991 All-Star Game in Charlotte saw Charles Barkley, then of the 76ers, score 17 points, grab 22 rebounds as the East won 116-114. Charles also MVP of that game in Charlotte. Sir Charles is alongside Hannah Storm. Hannah?
Thanks, Marvin. Charles and I were just noting the intensity of this game a little more than it has been in the last few years.
Yeah, I think so. I think the East really wants to win the game. We are here to have fun. We could test yesterday. We thought yesterday we were going to be a little serious today.
How much of that do you think has to do with Michael being back?
Well, I think that, you know, the East, we beat them pretty easily last year. And I think they got some criticism after the game that they didn't play hard. And Michael's a very competitive person, so that helps also.
All right, Charles, get back to the bench. We'll talk to you later.
All right, thank you.
Hey, Mark.
I note some laryngitis on the part of Charles Barkley. I think he has been enjoying the festivities here in San Antonio. Second quarter is underway. Ewing with the rebound. This is Brandon. He has Miller and Rice in the open floor, but it is broken up.
And I think Charles also is liking the way he has been playing lately, ever since he came back from that toe surgery, and Danny Manning is back. Kevin Johnson was back temporarily, Cotton taking over. And what a performance he had on Tuesday night in that emotional win over Chicago.
Are you going out on the limb and predicting that Phoenix is going to be a team to watch in the second half?
I think they're going to be a lot better. They're going to make any noise in the playoffs. It's not enough power and strength in the middle.
David Robinson making some noise with the reverse stuff. And the East lead is now one. Ewing! Patrick Ewing looking like Brent Barry in the slam dunk contest last night.
Yeah, he ran just about as far as Brent on that one, but they gave him a little play.
Nice pass from Malone. And Payton cuts it to a 1-point East lead.
And the West is actually running a little set play with a little high post action, and the East not able to adjust to it.
Miller with the pass broken up by Elliott. George Karl telling us before the game that the West actually had 4 set plays.
Well, David Robinson caught Patrick Ewing falling down, and then a hop, skip, and a jump and a throwdown by Patrick Ewing.
All-star type officiating there.
Miller lost it. We are early second quarter, just a minute and a half gone by. Mitch Richmond not able to hit. And back comes Miller. Reggie Miller of the Indiana Pacers for Vin Baker of the Milwaukee Bucks.
Guys that shoot jump shots in this game are going to be the ones that get hurt the most. Unless they really have the torch going, I don't look for many jump shots to go in.
Well, the team that the East has out on the floor right now, not a good running team. Terrell Brandon, good on the fast break, but so used to playing controlled basketball in Cleveland, but knows how to run the middle on the break. But neither Glenn Rice nor Vin Baker running the wings very well.
And Rice called for that foul. Payton and Richmond in the backcourt. Robinson, Malone, and Elliott on the front line. The strike by Payton. Ewing got a piece of it. Miller being played by Richmond. Here's Brandon around. Payton let the ball knocked away and a foul.
Reggie doesn't understand. This is an all-star game. That was supposed to pay out.
Timeout taken by the West. The East by 1.
All-Star Game is brought to you by the all-new Ford F-150. Strength after strength after strength. By AT&T, your true choice. And by Budweiser, official sponsor of the 1996 Olympic Summer Games. This Bud's for you.
Well, as a backdrop to tonight's NBA All-Star Game, there is the issue of whether the Spurs will continue to play here at the Alamo Dome. Spurs management working on plans for a privately financed arena that could be built outside the city limits. The mayor of San Antonio, Bill Thornton, has made it clear that the city should not build an arena. There are a couple of problems here, guys. Playing in a dome is not exactly intimate. And the Spurs feel they need luxury suites to compete with other NBA clubs.
How far outside the city limits are we talking about here? Are we talking 16 miles or all the way to New Orleans?
That has been brought up.
Or Nashville.
Right.
You know,
go ahead, Steve.
The scary thing about it is here is another franchise with great support from the community, but the arena game has become such a big issue that it's almost hard for them to compete sometimes and staying ahead salaries and players.
Well, the previous ownership built an arena that is also designed for football, but they were not able to attract an NFL franchise. Pass from Brandon of the foul call as Rice try to release it. They did have of all things, a Canadian Football League franchise here in San Antonio. I believe this is kind of southwestern Canada.
Well, remember this. It was a used car salesman that owned the team.
Yes.
Now, they bought a lemon or something like it because the current owner is saying the dome was a mistake. And Sean Elliott feels that if they had been playing in the old hemisphere, they might have won a championship a year ago because it was so tight and noisy in there.
And one other factor, earlier this year, David Robinson signed a long-term extension, a huge one, but modest by what we're going to see in the future, maybe around $11 million a year. But the reason he signed it was he was assured that the Spurs franchise would stay right here in San Antonio.
The East, he didn't get it in writing.
The East with a 1-point lead with 3 minutes gone by in the second quarter. Marv Albert, Lucas, Steve, Stafford Jones. John Elliott not able to hit. Kept alive by Gary Payton. Trying to put it between the legs, but Terrell Brandon there has a 3-on-1. Reggie Miller with the finisher. And the East with a 3-point advantage. Payton putting moves on Brandon and drew the foul.
Well, sometimes you dance too much, and Terrell Brandon caught Gary Payton off step and made it an easy score for Reggie Miller.
Gary Payton at the line. 2 shots.
And Gary Payton in his 6th year out of Oregon State. On the line, Payton leading the NBA in steals. He's averaging just under 3 per game.
And until that ill-advised pass by Gary, he was so basic and sound, just making the normal pass that was there, making the good point guard play, just got a little bit out of control and paid for it.
The East by 1. They've led by as many as 8. Brandon surprised Rice with the pass. And rebounded by Juwan, who checked in just a moment ago. Payton again puts it between the legs. Here's Elliott laying it off from Malone for foul. Lonzo Mourning of the Miami Heat, who came on for the first time Call for that foul on a reaching. So Karl Malone to the line.
You know, Carl's an example of what we're talking about with all-star play. He hurt his finger before. He's been here before. And, you know, every year he makes a statement about not coming. But every year he comes and he puts on a terrific show. He's been an MVP once on his own, a half of MVP with John Stockton. And I think once he gets here, his whole attitude always changes. The way he's beat it up right now, he's into this game.
And in last year's all-star game, Karl Malone, 15 points and 16 minutes of playing time, a 9-time All-Star, Karl Malone, and he's given the West a 1-point lead, the West leading for the first time. Brandon. Richmond with the save. Malone, trying to get the pass. It was such a blast by the East. George Karl refusing to give up the basketball.
And he has very strong hands. He'll never get it out of there. Actually overpassing on the part of Karl Malone.
And the call was changed. The ball will go to the West.
Well, you know, George Karl was once known as the Pillsbury Doughboy. He played here for the San Antonio Spurs.
I didn't know that, Steve.
Should have had a jump ball between Reggie Miller and George Karl.
Yeah. George with roots here and alley-oop a bit off the mark. Karl with roots here in San Antonio, played for the Spurs in the ABA and the NBA, also an assistant coach with San Antonio under Doug Moe in 1979 and 80. Alonzo Mourning has the outside touch. The West with a 42-41 lead. Brandon for Miller. Mourning around Robinson. The tip missed by Miller. And Malone gets it ahead. Here's Payton whipping it down to the crowd.
Well, I think all these guys in white jerseys ought to know with Payton that you got to go toward the basket. Don't drift out to the side because he's going to try to make something special happen. And, of course, Matt, he's used to playing with the Rain Man. You know, you just throw it up there and Sean Kemp will catch it.
Juwan Howard keeping it alive. Brandon for three. So Terrell Brandon with the game's first three-pointer. East has cooled down here in the second quarter after the hot start. But they now lead by 2. Elliott for three. Ronnie Hart lets it go. Both players looking for a call.
Well, that's the stat we also have to keep track of, the officials that make the calls. I mean, Ed Middleton's ahead about 3-1 on everyone else.
Brandon again from downtown, along with the box out. Richmond handling. Guarded by Juwan Howard, who has had an outstanding second NBA season with the Washington Bullets. Malone tried the fadeaway. Here comes Brandon. Again, the East on the run. Brandon around Elliott and draws the foul. Sean Elliott called for the hack. It leads to a timeout. The East up by 2 with 6:20 to go in this first half. We'll be back in the Alamo City in a moment.
It was a dream of mine to play in the Olympics. And now to get this opportunity to be on this dream team, it's a wonderful honor. I'm sure when that day comes, I'll be the proudest basketball player in the world because it's something that you've done for your country. I'm actually wearing the U.S. uniform, representing the U.S. for the Olympics. Still can't believe it. You know, it's still like a dream. To be with 11 other guys who are considered to be the best basketball players in the world, it's an awesome feeling.
The Dream Team, coming this summer.
There is always much to do on All-Star Weekend, and here in San Antonio, the jam session has provided a terrific time for everyone. Boys and girls testing their basketball skills, measuring up to the pros. That's Ahmad's favorite, the bungee shot. Basketball clinics with NBA players paying visits, lots of autograph seekers of all ages, plus NBC announcer edition.
Yes! Go! All right, Michael! Go!
Just excellent work.
And we're all in trouble.
I knew you were giving seminars, Marv, but I didn't know you were over there.
Those kids did a very strong audition, it should be pointed out. 6:20 to go in this first half. Terrell Brandon of the Cavaliers on the line, and the East now leading 45-42.
Brandon wearing number 14 for Bobby Phills, his teammate with the Cleveland Cavaliers, saying that those two came together 4 years ago, both in the league now, 4 years with the Cleveland Cavaliers, is dedicating this game to Bobby.
Yes, Terrell usually wears number 1, and he wanted to honor his hardworking teammate Bobby Phills, who has also had a very solid season. On the drive, all alone, ending the drought for the West. They had missed their previous 6 shots. East up by 2. Howard, Pippen and Mourning now up front. Pippen is back, along with Hardaway. Great fake by Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen, most valuable player of the All-Star game 2 years ago in Minneapolis. Here's the steal by Pippen. It's a 4-on-2. Brandon. Well, Terrell, Brandon able to finish it off after 4 players touched the ball.
Well, he better make a case for open court basketball with Coach Fratello, because he's really very good here, and he's making some sensational plays, and maybe we'll see things speeded up.
Guess what? It's not going to happen. Too much success playing the other way. Control the ball. Don't turn it over. Give yourself a chance to win at the end. They have mastered it.
Sean Elliott with his first field goal. The East by 4. Here is Pippen. Yes. The East leading 52-46. 5 minutes left in this first half. John Stockton of the Jazz getting set to come on for the first time. Elliott coming up short on the 3-point attempt. Hardaway had it broken up. Good play by Payton. Payton and Richmond at the guards. Elliott up front with Malone, and now Dikembe Mutombo of the Denver. It's another good attempt by Payton looking for the steal, and now Gary will sit down. Here's John Stockton, the NBA's all-time assist leader in his 12th NBA season out of Gonzaga.
You think prime time is watching this game? Because Gary Payton is going to show him how to defend out there. He has really been in the passing lane and done a real good job of keeping some defensive saves for
Howard on the offensive rebound. 6-point lead for the East. Richmond. Some sweet, nothing's whispered into his ear by Mourning as he got the step on Alonzo.
Well, his last couple of jump shots were way off, so Mitch Richmond, the consummate scorer, figures if I can't make it from the outside, I'm going to put my head down and attack that rim.
And Michael Jordan is back on the floor. He hit on 4 of 4 in the early going. He has 8 points. Mourning. And it is called an offensive foul. He can't believe it. Alonzo pushing off.
You know what he's saying to Ronnie Nunn, the officials? This is an all-star game, isn't it? When was the last time you saw that call made?
Well, against Dikembe, of all people, who had both hands on Alonzo Mourning to begin with. Dikembe likes to use those hands, forearms, elbows, and does it very well.
Former teammates at Georgetown. Stockton had it blocked. Jordan with Mourning getting down court. Alonzo Mourning. And that is his first field goal. Back comes Malone, and he's pushed by Jordan.
And Michael did everything he could to try to avoid it. Said Eddie Rush, the official, said, I tried to miss him. I tried not to touch him. But Michael fell asleep after he made that pass. His first responsibility was to get back on defensively, but didn't do it. And the East squad has had problems with the big forwards of the West. Karl Malone, Charles Barkley, Kemp, much as they did last year with the smaller forwards starting out the game, Pippen and Grant Hill. Talking to Phil Jackson before the game about it, he said, I'm not really worried about the big forwards. I think we've got an edge with quickness.
You talked about guys that can get up and down the floor, and those 3 guys all excel in open court play, and that gives the West an advantage. But the last shot by Malone showed you why he's so good at getting to the free throw line. He actually took himself into Jordan to make sure that the official called the whistle for him.
Well, we saw a double up. Here's Richmond trying to help out on Jordan. Hardaway for 3. The chip missed by Pippen. And Stockton running the floor. A bit too strong. And how often do you see that? Stockton misfiring with Malone.
It's like they're not used to playing with one another. They've only done that about 15,000 times, only connected on the play.
And a timeout called by the East coach, Phil Jackson. The East leading by 5 points with 3:09 left in the half.
And coming up on the Prudential Halftime Report, we'll bring the Julius Erving's conversation with Michael Jordan. Michael talks about his love for the game, some of the reasons for his return, and he talks about his legacy as well. We'll also be joined by Magic Johnson with his thoughts on the first half of tonight's All-Star game, which the East leads by 5. As we return courtside to Marv, Matt, and the snapper, Marvelous.
All right, Bob. And we're coming up on 3 minutes remaining in this first half. Grant Hill is back on the floor, as is Shaquille O'Neal. Hardaway posting up. And a foul is called.
Well, there is a definite mismatch out there for whoever John Stockton is going to guard. The last possession before the timeout, he was watching Michael Jordan and went right into the post. And a whistle stoppage, and now right into Hardaway with John Stockton, who just gives up way too much height.
And a foul called on Stockton again. A mismatch. Hardaway going at Stockton, who went down and committed the foul.
Marv, we have to notice that watching is the word that he used for defensive coverage there.
That's a hockey term, you know. From Malone departs. Sean Kemp is back. Kemp with 10 points, got off to the fast start.
Well, players of all sizes have trouble watching Penny Hardaway deep in the post. Wow.
And Hardaway sweeping in, and he was pushed from behind. Richmond tried to help out, and he picked up the personal.
Well, they called this on Dikembe Mutombo, but it looked like Anthony Hardaway pushed off. You know, if anybody considers the basket area his temple, it's Mutombo. He likes to slap everything that comes in there away. I'll be interested to see how he tries to find Hardaway the next time he's going for a layup.
Well, we have a moment here on behalf of all of us. We would like to wish a speedy recovery to the president of NBC Sports, Dick Ebersol. Dick, as always, watching us. I'm sure taking notes with an extra thick notepad here this evening. But we wish Dick well and hope to see him back in the office in very short time. The East with a 56-51 lead with 2:25 remaining in this first half. There's Pete Sampras, who has not missed an event all weekend. He has been everywhere. Foul committed by Mutombo, and that will put Shaquille at the line. His free throw shooting is down to 46%. See him on a regular basis, 53% last year, which people were certainly wondering about, but now he's at 46. How do you explain this?
Well, it's gone down every year, and once again, trying something new, and it's very difficult to do it in the middle of the season, and when you're up there thinking about changes, it's just too difficult. And right now, Shaq is just shooting them on a line drive, way too flat.
All right, now you played with one of the worst free throwers of all time in Wilt Chamberlain, and you knew all of the things that they told him. How can a guy get any help with a free throw?
Well, you got to do it in the off-season. Mutombo finishes off in there. You can't do it in the middle of the season. You have to put the time in correcting your mechanics in the off-season, and then put the repetitions there. And then once basketball starts, you got to forget about it and go with what you've got.
Are you saying Shaquille is not working on his free throw shooting in the offseason?
I think he is to a degree, but then comes the time that training camp starts, it's another change and another thought process. You got to find something and stay with it.
4-point lead for the East. Hardaway off the steal, chased by Kidd, who just checked back in. Hardaway spinning his way and hitting. The reverse by Penny Hardaway. It extends to a 6-point East lead with 1:35 left, first half. Kidd now being guarded by Jordan. And a traveling violation.
Well, Penny Hardaway saying last year in the first half he felt he was too tentative, trying to make too many plays for other people. This time he said he's going to come out and just be aggressive and play his game. And we saw an example of it right there.
Well, the West with 17 turnovers. Michael Jordan with the touch. He's 5 of 5. He has 10 points. 8-point East lead. They opened up on fire. At one point hit 10 straight. They hit 10 of 11 from the field. Kemp. Rebound kept alive by Kidd. And here's Kidd for 3. Kidd, who has improved his offense this season, but still the question is the outside touch is able to hit from downtown.
You know, the thing about him is that just when you think he can't make shots from the outside, he'll have a game where he makes 4 or 5 3-pointers in important situations. He's a lot like Dennis Johnson. Look awful, and then make them when they mean the most.
It might be the one thing that could keep him off the dream team, because everything else he does well. He can pressure the ball. He certainly can pass it. He can get his team running, but the outside shot against zones might be a question.
Come on. What are they averaging? What are they averaging here with wins? They're winning by 40-some points. We got to worry about outside shooting.
I know. Just throw it up at the rim. Somebody will get the business.
That is still close. 6 points for Drexler. Matt wants to worry, even though he doesn't have a ball club to worry about. Let him worry.
I got that from an inside source that I cannot reveal at this time.
Coming up on 10 seconds remaining in this first half. Jordan, Pippen, and Jordan with the open shot. Hill with the rebound as the buzzer sounds. And at the half of this 46th NBA All-Star game, it is the East by 3. Sean Kemp with 10 points to lead the West. Michael Jordan with 10 for the East.
At your fingertips at NBA.com. You have the computer, you've accessed the internet. Now log on to NBA.com for all you want to know about the NBA. 24 hours a day, you can check out game schedules, plus player stats and stories from around the league. That's any team, anytime. And NBA on the Air tells you where to tune in for all the action. NBA.com. Log on and get connected to the NBA.
Aliens have invaded Earth. This is the Prudential Halftime Report, brought to you by Prudential. Live well, make a flag, be your own rock.
Halftime in San Antonio, the East All-Stars looking to rebound from a blowout last year in Phoenix, leading the West 61-58. One player for each team in double figures. Jordan leads the East with 10. Sean Kemp, same number for the Western All-Stars. Bob Costas back, along with Julius Erving and Magic Johnson. Magic, an impression on the first half?
Well, I think that Jason Kidd really did a wonderful job for the West, pushing the ball, creating shots for Sean Kemp and some of the other guys. Then when he went to the bench, the West created a lot of bad turnovers, really overpassing. And for the East, I think Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen and now Hardaway got into the open floor and did a good job for the East.
Even though they only trail by 3, the West All-Stars guilty of 17 first-half turnovers.
Yeah, as Magic said, there was sloppy play on the part of the West, particularly after Jason Kidd went out. I think one of the things that really solidified the effort of the East is that they have more playmakers than the West has. The West is so much dependent on Kidd, maybe Gary Payton, but the East has Grant Hill and Scottie Pippen, who are forwards who can play make as well as the two guards, Anthony Hardaway and Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan was your MVP pick, Magic. He hit 5 of 6 in the first half for 10 points.
Well, he's just getting started. You have to understand, Michael wants to put on a show, and he's going to do that. Watch in the second half. Michael will take over the game.
Well, up next, the legends keep coming. Dr. J's conversation with, yes, Michael Jordan. That's after a message from Prudential and a word from the NBA. Halftime at the Alamo Dome, and the crowd enjoying a little entertainment courtesy of 22-year-old Savion Glover, who most recently appeared on Broadway with Gregory Hines in Jelly's Last Jam. So that's how the crowd here at the Alamo Dome is spending halftime watching Savion Glover go through his paces. Now you guys, or you folks at home, I assume there are women watching as well as guys. Where am I? Here I am. Two guys who've had their share of all-star moments. I should have just read this in the first place. Are Julius Erving and Michael Jordan, the two legends, MJ and Dr. J. Sat down for a chat.
While you were out, did you look at your place in basketball history?
Yeah, I did, and I felt very proud about it. This is a guy who came from a little town who evolved to be an important part to the history of the game of basketball, which is how anybody wants to be remembered. And then when I did choose to come back, I didn't let that be a base or a goal. I wanted to extend further than that. I want to get back to that level and extend it further if I could. That was part of my driving force.
Do you study pro basketball history?
Sure. I think that's the way you learn about dealing with all different types of players, dealing with the game and the expanding of the game. You brought a different attitude, a different expansion to the game. Magic, Larry, myself.
It's my opinion that today's players have trouble relating to longevity and a historical perspective about the game because of the economics. Let's get in, make the money, and then get out. What's your opinion about that?
I agree with you. I think for years ago, the players came in after a 4-year college experience of learning how to play the game, learning more about the physical aspects of the game, but then at the same time learning the knowledge of the game. And then once you get on this level, you apply that against the best players in the world. That only improves or enhances that mental toughness or the beauty of the game, the dedication to the game, the opportunities that the game provides. Not monetarily. That so happens to be a part of the game. I got a feeling that, even today, I still have that feeling. If you didn't get paid a dime, we still play the game of basketball somewhere. So the love of the game is something that either you have or you don't. You either love the game for what it's about, not for what it provides. A lot of times I think today's athletes, they love the game for what it provides instead of what it is.
Have you returned to the game that you love with an enlightened view about how things work?
Oh, before I had a very naive attitude about it. The way I was perceived and the way that I must live. There's no pure, perfect human being in this world. And I think because of all the adulation that I was receiving and respect that I was getting, I wanted to live that most perfect lifestyle so that everyone could always like Michael Jordan. I try to make everybody happy, but you can't make everybody happy. That's one of the things that I've learned. My father taught me, and you advised me many times that, at some point in time, you got to know when to say no. And I think coming back to the game and being away from the game and being in minor league baseball, I was able to revisit some of those stages that evolved once I was trying to get to the top. And I kind of forgot about it. And it brought the very simple things back to me as a person and to the game. It's just a game. Enjoy the game. Enjoy your life. Play the game. Be very respectful to people, but have people respect you for a human being. And don't be afraid to take. I'm with my kids. I'm with my family. I'd rather not. Be polite about it. But yet, recapture some of that realistic attitude to your life or the humanistic side of yourself. Because you were losing. I was losing it. And I was getting so wrapped up into it that I wasn't happy with what I was trying to do and what I enjoyed the most, which is playing the game of basketball.
It said there'd never be another Elgin Baylor. Then I came along. It said there'd never be another Dr. J. Then you came along. Who have you been sizing up for the torch passing?
If I look at the players today and who would take what either I've done, that I've taken from you and you've taken from Elgin and expanded it even further, Hardaway is a great pick because of versatility and the things that he can do with the ball, without the ball, defensively, to make his surrounding players better. Everyone says Grant Hill. I think Grant Hill is very similar to you, to Scottie Pippen. You see the passing of the torch to the next generation, but I ain't ready to give him that yet.
Is he a different Michael Jordan than the Jordan you remember?
Yeah, he sounds like he's calmer and gentler, but everybody knows that fire still burns within. And Michael, at age 32, has had some physical deterioration in his game, but he more than compensates for that, you know, with his spiritual and intellectual and emotional growth that he's come back with.
Well, Magic, your second game back matched you up against Michael Jordan and the Bulls, and they really spanked you that night.
Oh, spanked me good. But I think Michael is smarter now. He's playing, you know, he doesn't play on the athletic ability. He plays on his smarts of the game. He's physically stronger now, but mentally he's tougher and stronger. And so that's why he can still play at a high level, because he doesn't have to beat you athletically anymore. He beats you with his smarts. That's why now, Doc, just like you used to do, he can go down low and post you up where you don't have to spend a lot of energy anymore. You know, Michael is into a different game now, and I love his game now.
He's only 32, Bob. He's a young guy. I mean, Magic's out there at 36. I'm only 37. Mike's got 5 or 6 more years.
Well, Michael Jordan and the East lead this 46th NBA All-Star game by 3 at the half. The West squad has won 3 of the last 4. George Karl is talking to them now. That's the shot you're seeing, Bob Weiss, in the locker room as well, as the Western Stars get ready to come out and try and overcome a small 3-point deficit in the second half. We'll send it back to Marv, Matt, and the Snapper after these messages from your local station.
This has been the Prudential Halftime Report, brought to you by Prudential. Live well, make a plan, be your own rock.
Mr. Tom Jones.
What's on NBC Valentine's Tuesday?
On Wings, Brian joins the Mile High Club.
Love play.
Come on! On Third Rock, an alien gets jealous and plots revenge.
Yes! Ow!
And look, it's Diane, back with Frasier for a joyous romantic reunion. She's got a surprise you won't believe.
Yes!
On Laura Kent, a night court reunion with Harry Anderson.
That's on NBC Valentine's Tuesday.
What's better than our evening newscast here on WAFF?
2 newscasts with even more local news.
Our 5 o'clock newscast brings you the top stories of the day, Health Watch, and stories we think will be especially important to women.
At 5:30, find out what's happening around the country and...
I'm telling y'all, Michael told me to send things to play golf with him. He didn't tell me I was going to get 5.
Very emotional message from Charles Barkley as the West squad makes its way out of the court. The East up by 3 as we welcome you back to San Antonio. Marv Albert, Steve Jones, and Matt Gukas and Snapper. The West off to the slow start, but turned it in the second quarter.
Well, they really turned it around. The only thing they have to worry about is taking care of the ball. They've coughed up way too many turnovers for cheap points.
And Matt, what is going on in terms of shooting from downtown?
Well, terrible three-point shooting. The West 1 for 11, the East 1 for 7, and we still have not seen the first three-pointer by Shaquille O'Neal.
Yes, he said he would attempt 5. That was said prior to the game. A look at the Middle Light halftime statistics. The East, after the fast start, now at 47% for the half on 25 for 53. The West picking it up. They're at 52%. Michael at 5 for 7, 10 points. And in the assist column, the West led by Jason Kidd with 17 assists. The East with 12. Kidd has set the tempo in his 11 minutes. 5 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds. A superb first half for Kidd. We'll be right back. 36,000 at the Alamo Dome, San Antonio, as we get set for the start of play in the second half of this 46th annual NBA All-Star Game. The East with a 61-58 lead on the West. And both clubs are back to the starting lineups. Brandon Hill, Scottie Pippen, Shaquille O'Neal up front, Michael Jordan, Penny Hardaway at the guard. Michael Jordan with 12 points. And the East now leading by 5. Setting the West, Jason Kidd of the Dallas Mavericks in the backcourt, along with Clyde Drexler of the Houston Rockets, Akeem Olajuwon of the Rockets, Charles Barkley of the Suns, Sean Kemp of the Sonics. Hardaway off the steal. Here's Hill.
And it's terrific defensive play by Penny Hardaway, who with Grant Hill, and they were teammates on the college group that played against and scrimmaged against Dream Team 1, so they know each other well. They just switched on the pick and roll, and Hardaway took it away from the bigger Kemp.
Well, we didn't get to hear from the coaches, but I want to ask you something. Here you got one of these all-star games. You got people that have played pretty good. How do you get that energy level back up, Matt?
Well, if you're the West, you get Jason Kidd back out on the floor and let him push the ball up the floor as much as possible. And if you're the East, you put the ball in that man's hands, Michael Jordan, to make something happen.
Oh, Kidd on the break, slipping it to Barkley. Try to get it back. One pass too many. And Hardaway moving on. Kemp, nice lead. And the East up 67-60 with a minute and a half gone by in the third quarter.
You can tell Mark Barkley does not want to be MVP. He would never turn down a jump shot like that.
Very unselfish on the part of Charles, who's hit 4 of 5. Drexler with a rare three-pointer. And for the West, that is only their second from downtown. They're 2 of 12 from three-point range. Shaquille O'Neal, 7 points for Shaq. The East with the 69-63 lead. And Olajuwon making the turn was blocked by O'Neal.
Well, Charles Barkley is definitely not himself. We heard him seemingly suffering from laryngitis and may have been out on the golf course in Las Vegas or Phoenix, probably yelling 4 a lot. Yes.
Olajuwon. Is this prepared material you're coming in with now, Matt?
Wait, you mean you doubt the 81 that he gave the last time we heard him say anything about golf?
And still with another opportunity, yes, and it counts.
Well, oddly enough, Drexler is going to get the first one here on a clean block of beauty, but Shaq stays with it. You know, Hakeem Olajuwon had been saying for quite some time that he didn't think he should start in this game. He thought David Robinson should get the starting nod, especially since it was his hometown. I think there was also a method to Hakeem's madness. I don't think he wanted to bang around with Shaquille O'Neal early in the first and third quarters.
7-point lead. Sean Kemp soaring past Scottie Pippen. And Sean Kemp with 12. He's hit 6 of 9 from the field. Hardaway using the pick.
There's the dance. There's the dance right there.
And he'll take it. That is not usually part of Shaquille's repertoire. And the East now leads 74-67. 3 minutes gone by in the third. Olajuwon facing the double team. Here is Kemp for 3. Michael Jordan trying to give it back. Looked like he was setting up to put one down. A moment ago, Sean Kemp with the sweeping drive for the stuff along the baseline. Let's take a listen.
Not only the shotgun, but the sound effect that he gives it on the way down.
It's a good place not to have your head right under that rim when people like Sean Kemp and Shaquille O'Neal are throwing it down.
Foul was committed by Kemp. So Jordan to the line for the first time.
It was interesting yesterday at the East practice. Phil Jackson had the team scrimmaging. He felt that a lot of these players had not played in a few days. Wanted to get them used to running up and down the floor, passing and catching and getting a feel for each other's timings. And so far it's paid off.
Was he working on the full court pressure at that time?
I did not see that, and I did not see the triangle offense, although Scottie Pippen desperately wanted to put that in. He just told us that. He loves the triangle.
The East leading 76-67. It's the biggest lead for the East squad. Barkley. And here comes Jordan going behind the back on Kidd. Hardaway back for Jordan.
Fun to play with Penny Hardaway. Give, go, get it back. Michael had the tongue wagging all the way.
And And that leads to a West timeout. George Karl wants to talk it over. 8:18 remaining in the third quarter. The East now up by 11. Here's the give and go between two of the best, Hardaway and Jordan. And Michael puts it down.
All-Star Game is brought to you by New Miller Beer. Brewed from the heart of the hops for a beer with heart that goes down easy. By the car you can always count on, the 1996 Mitsubishi Galant. And by Goodyear, #1 in tires.
Back in San Antonio, a pretty fair collection of All-Stars and Hall of Famers watching the current crop. Oscar Robertson, the Big O, is on hand. Elgin Baylor, now the general manager of the Los Angeles Clippers. Isaiah Thomas, now the GM of the surprising Toronto Raptors. Dave Cowens, who is an assistant coach with the San Antonio Spurs. And Bill Russell, a man who preceded Dave Cowens in the green of the Boston Celtics. 4 minutes gone by in the third. The East up by 11 points. Olajuwon and handled by O'Neal. In the backcourt, Hill, Pippen, and O'Neal up front. Pippen chased by Olajuwon on the switch. And Shaquille foul. Sean Kemp collecting his third.
You know, Marv, we just had a look at Bill Russell, and that tells us how times have changed and how he's mellowed, because a long time ago he wouldn't come to these things, you know, and Bill just kind of divorced himself of basketball for a while, and it's terrific to see the all-time winner back. You know, nobody won more championships than Russell, and he is still the most dominant defensive player we've ever had.
Try to deliver it to Richmond.
And I've heard Bill talk about how much he really enjoys watching these young big men play, and I'm including Hakeem Olajuwon, David Robinson, Mutombo, who is a very defensive-minded player, and of course he really appreciates Shaquille O'Neal. I think he wished he would do more things defensively, but you can't help but like Big Shaq.
Now Shaquille is 5 of 10 from the field. Mitch Richmond of the Sacramento Kings, last year's All-Star MVP, back on the floor, combining with Jason Kidd. A whip pass from Kidd. And Olajuwon saw Barkley, but it's broken up. And the West will have 11 on the 24.
I think George Karl feels this game may be slipping a little bit away, getting Mitch Richmond in, who is a three-point threat, that in case there is penetration by Kidd, the kick out for Richmond.
Well, Coach, give me some of that coach speak, because these guys are just being too unselfish. Nobody wants to shoot. There are shots to be had, but they keep passing them up.
3 on 2, and it is Richmond. That was a three-point attempt. The West 2 of 14 downtown. Shaquille O'Neal with 14 points, and the East has opened up a 13-point vault. Drexler stripped by Hill, and Hill knocked it away.
Well, this time Shaq had the opportunity to pull up behind that line and launch his first of 5 threes that he promised, but he's all business right now. He saw the opening, took the pass, and charged it right to the rim.
But remember, he also promised some new moves, so he has shown us that he's got guard-like tendencies, and he wants to drive that ball. But one thing that the guys in the green uniforms are doing, they're shooting the ball. When they get chances to shoot it, they're going to shoot it. They're not going to overpass.
Is that green or aqua? It's a most unusual color, I must say, Steve. That's the story here of the third quarter. The East with the advantage off an 8-0 run. The West has missed its last 5 shots. Olajuwon to the jump hook. East up 80-69. West has won 3 of the last 4. That was too easy on the penetration for Grant Hill.
That's the signature move of Grant Hill, that crossover from the right elbow. Nice move by Jason Kidd, getting all the way to the rim. But Grant Hill has that explosive move from high out on that right elbow area. A lot of times he'll pass up that open jump shot because he knows he can get all the way to the basket.
Well, you also got to remember he's being guarded by Charles Barkley. And as you said, if his voice is hoarse, it's from too much golf, and certainly not a thought about guarding Grant Hill.
Grant Hill, incidentally, bothered recently by an injured wrist. The Pistons were very concerned, but it turns out that it was only tissue damage. He missed one game. And the Pistons say it might go back to an old college injury at Duke. That was intended for Hill on the alley-oop. Here comes Payton keeping the dribble alive. Richmond. Rebound Jordan. It is a 3-on-1 developing. Hill for O'Neal. And he's fouled by Barkley, not allowing the shot. Now David Robinson will check back in, replacing Hakeem Olajuwon.
As George Karl continues to search for some kind of combination, the thought was good as far as bringing Mitch Richmond in, who's a guy that you just normally pencil in 22, 23 points a game. He just can't get a shot to fall. He's gone with 2 point guards, Payton and Kidd, and now come with David Robinson.
And apparently Olajuwon remains on the floor, so Robinson and Olajuwon will play together.
All right, here's that coaching thing that George Karl likes to do. I got a lot of bigs. I got a lot of smalls. Let's see what they're going to do and see how they're going to adjust. And immediately, another coaching move. Ben Baker comes in the game, so we got size.
84-71. The East with the lead. 5 minutes left in the third quarter. Robinson, Olajuwon, and an illegal defense call for the first time. Wow.
I can't remember ever in all of the All-Star games I've seen in the last, 5-10 years, ever since the illegal defensive guidelines came in, ever seen one called as an All-Star game.
The second violation would mean a technical foul award. Here's Payton on the spin, giving it up to Olajuwon. And Kidd for 3. O'Neal with the rebound. Shaquille with a big third quarter, 11 of the 16 of the third. Michael Jordan switching hands in midair, drawing the foul. And he'll go to the line. Robinson committing the personal, his second.
Well, when Jordan has that tongue out, there's only one thing you know. He's headed toward the basket. He's still got some pretty good lift because he had to get control of the ball in order to get it up to the basket to draw the foul.
Well, Michael leading the league in scoring at just over 30 points a game, and has done it most of the time this year with perimeter shooting and a lot of post-ups that he has. He's developed a fadeaway jump shot and only going to the basket when needed, coming down the stretch of ball games.
Michael coming off a 40-point, 11-rebound game at Golden State on Wednesday night for the 42-5 Chicago Bulls. The East by 15. Payton played by Rice, who just checked in. Here is Richmond. It's Richmond not able to find the lane. Jordan with 20 points. Able to finish off the break. Here's Robinson, could not convert. Olajuwon. And handled by Baker.
Well, and nothing looks good leaving the Western Conference hands on any kind of shot right now. The East just playing with a great deal of confidence.
Now this
called on Payton.
This is an explosive Jordan, though. Still going for that slam dunk. I mean, that head was right around the cylinder.
And the East has outscored the West 27-13 here in the third as Michael Jordan sits down. 8 of 11 from the field for Jordan. 4 of 4 from the line for 20 points. The West, as you mentioned, nothing looks good coming off their hands. The West has missed its last 8 shot attempts. And they are now down by 18 points.
And whatever chart George Karl had as far as minutes going in his third quarter and early fourth quarter has had to be thrown out the window right now as he just keeps looking for something to click at the offensive end, and nothing has happened so far in this second half.
John Stockton is back, as is Sean Elliott. Karl trying to do some shuffling here in the third. Richmond, played by Rice. Robinson over Ewing, who just checked back in. Elliott keeps it alive. Off the head fake. Robinson, and Robinson with a second opportunity. So they have missed 11 consecutive shots before the tip by David Robinson.
That's one way to get some scoring, is get to the offensive glass. But right now, the West is so small out there, with the exception of David Robinson. Nobody else can get to the offensive board.
Well, that is the favorite move of Patrick Ewing of the New York Knicks. That head fake and then the fadeaway from the baseline. The East 92-73. The East is 12 of 16 from the field here in the third quarter.
But you see those two guys right there, and both of them really sweating. That tells you that they came out and worked that third quarter. Shaquille O'Neal and Michael Jordan, everybody else basically took it easy. Those guys carried the third quarter of offense for them, and nobody in the West, if you were to take a shot at that West bench, you'd see they're dry as a bone. There's a difference in how they approach the third quarter of play.
Well, Brandon had played well in the first half, is back on the floor, and Brandon with the ball. Ewing trying to set the screen. And here's Miller for three. Back comes Payton. Step, but then met by the combination of Ewing and Baker, and the foul is called on Patrick Ewing. With 2:42 left in the third, a timeout taken.
Rashad back with Scottie Pippen. And Scottie, I just want you to take a look at this.
Yeah, good choice. The whole father and waiting thing has changed since the Ricky Ricardo days. It's nice to preserve some traditions. Just a sec. I think that, can't you see that we're...
Hey, Jerry, right?
Uh-huh.
I just want to thank you again.
You're welcome. Can you stay right here just 1 second? 1 minute, 1 minute. 1 minute.
Scottie, man, I didn't know that you could act like that, man. That's incredible.
I'm multi-talented.
I understand it, but is all the lines you had?
Oh, I had great lines. Series will be out next week, so I want you to look forward to it. I'm trying to move into Hollywood.
I'll do that, but could you wait right here for just 1 second?
Oh, sure.
Back to you, Mark.
Thank you, Ahmad. That was purely Strasburg style for Scottie Pippen. There's George Clooney, one of the stars of ER, and Scottie Pippen's segment will be seen, we're told, this coming Thursday on ER at 10 o'clock here on NBC. Baker, yes, and it counts. And Baker will go to the line with 2.5 remaining in this third quarter. It is now a 94-74 lead for the East. A 22-7 run by the East. Multi-talented, huh, Scottie Pippen?
I got a lot of great.
They're all on the cutting room floor, though.
Stockton with Payton and Richmond in a three-guard alignment. Got Stockton. Robinson and Elliott also on the floor for the West. While the East going with Brandon and Miller at the guard. Ewing with Baker and Rice. Brandon for three from way out. And back comes the West. Stockton with the pull-up for three. Richmond stripping Rice. Payton with the ball fake, and it's a goaltend. The basket will carry.
You can see John Stockton sensing that the West needs some kind of a run here. He's going to try to do it himself. He pulled up and took the three as far as getting people involved. And Steve, I hate to sound like a coach, but the only way you come back from 20 is you've got to do something defensively and then go the other way and get an easy basket. It's the only way.
Steve, I sense you resent the coaching mentality.
But you got to score the ball. You know, I have a problem with the way that the game is even being coached nowadays, because all of our games are so low in scoring, 45, 48 in the third quarter, and I always ask your coach, what is going on in the game today? Too much coaching.
Well, trying to win games. I saw where Magic Johnson came out, and he says he does not like all the isolation that he is seeing. I wonder, Terrell Branford, he's going, I wonder when Magic was coaching if he did some of that. But a lot of isolation, too much of it, and the reason we have a lot of the low-scoring games as well is just kind of trying to control the tempo.
Steve, certain teams don't have the personnel, what do? You can't run all the time.
Well, a bad team is a bad team. Whether it slows it down or it speeds it up, it's still a bad team. They might be competitive, but ultimately they'll end up losing or they'll crash and burn at some point.
And again, a goaltend, so Stockton gets credit, and the East up by 17.
Oh, his hand is twitching. His hand is twitching.
Take two teams like Cleveland and Detroit. They just do not have the guns to go out and play against the Orlando, Chicagos, and Indianas. As Rice finally gets a career in the East. So in order to compete against those better teams, they have to play a certain style. And Pacella has his team 5 games over 500. Doug Collins has his team 1 game over 500. If they tried to play another way, they would have losing records, believe me.
So what you're saying is it's job security.
Well, I think you always have to go out and give your team a chance to win games, and you have to read your personnel, and you have to play accordingly. You just can't go out and try to do something that your personnel isn't capable of doing.
We are down to 25 seconds left in the third quarter. Off the steal. Terrell Brandon moves it back across. High point man of the game, Michael Jordan with 20. Shaquille O'Neal with 16. Sean Kemp leading the West with 12. Gary Payton with 10. Here is Miller. Yes. Reggie Miller with his 3rd field goal. That is the end of the 3rd quarter. So here in San Antonio, after 3, the East with the commanding lead. Shaquille O'Neal breaking out in the 3rd quarter. The East 16 of 22 overall in the 3rd. We'll be back after this from your local station.
Private telecast of the National Basketball Association may not be retransmitted, reproduced, or rebroadcast without the express written consent of the NBA.
NBA Commissioner David Stern and his wife, Mrs. Commissioner Diane. David, incidentally, wearing his alternate road blazer, should be pointed out. And the NBA Board of Governors, we're told, will be rubber stamping a new contract for Mr. Commissioner. Tomorrow, a new long-term deal.
And I understand the salary cap of the league severely strained.
Yeah, we should all have such a good rubber stamp.
4th quarter underway. Reggie Miller called for the foul, but what a job David Stern has done, and has certainly enjoyed the festivities here on All-Star Weekend here in San Antonio. Crowd of better than 36,000 on hand. Travel called on Terrell Brandon.
To make it a close game,
The largest crowd for an All-Star game, an NBA All-Star game, was 44,735. 44,000 plus 1989 at the Astrodome in Houston. Robinson able to recover. The East leads 102-82. The East with 41 points in the 3rd quarter. They outscored the West 41-22.
Now, Matt, as a coach, do you decide you want to try to get back in this game? You're the West coach, or are you just content to get players in the game?
Oh, no, you're trying to make a run, and George started it at the beginning of this 4th quarter by going with team combinations. John Stockton and Karl Malone, teammate. David Robinson and Sean Elliott, teammates, and his own man, Gary Payton. Now he's ready to come back in with Dikembe Mutombo to try to do something at the defensive end with block shots, rebounds, and get some running going. Oh, I think he thinks there's another run in this Western team. Why are you looking at me like I'm speaking crazily?
Well, you're speaking like a coach, but you look at it, his body language over there tells me I think he's mailed this one in, and I'm just going to get these guys some time.
Can you read George Karl's body language?
Yeah, I've seen the Mad Doctor enough to know that when he's not up and he's not moving around, he's fairly resolved that this game is over.
Malone was hacked. Foul Foul committed by Ewing. That is his second.
That is the look he had when they lost in the first round of the playoffs. I know that look.
Despite more wins than any NBA coach the past 2.5 years, George Karl, without that fully guaranteed contract for next season, we talked about it earlier with George, he says he doesn't know what is going to happen. He says he is still able to focus, but if they would make a strong, positive commitment, he would listen.
You're hitting the rim, and they're hitting
He
the net.
loves his team. He likes the team right now with Hersey Hawkins coming in the Kendall Gill trade. Obviously the team with the best record in the West, with tremendous pressure on George and the Sonics to get out of that first round. And sometimes if you just think of just getting out of the first round, you may have a little sigh of relief there and not be ready for the second round.
Well, let me speak up for coaches, and I'll speak up for George Karl in this sense. He has done a terrific job. I don't know that anyone could have done a better job in making that team competitive, actually getting it to the state where they even thought they could have been a championship team. And suddenly, if you yank the rug from underneath them, you're starting all over in Seattle again. Now, that's the last time you'll hear me say something good about it.
Steve, that's all well and good, but as Ewing is able to slam it down, but ownership and fans look at a club that did so well during the regular season, and then they knocked out in the first round. It's hard to accept.
Well, the Denver one was strange as they won that series in 5, but then a tremendous series against Houston last year, the eventual two-time NBA championship. And there's no shame in losing. And a lot of teams can say that after losing to the Houston Rockets in the playoffs the way they played last season.
An 18-point advantage to the East with 2 minutes gone by in the fourth quarter. Baker and Mutombo with the rebound. Marv Albert, Matt Dukas, and Steve Jones from San Antonio, Texas. Here is Malone. And the tip miss, Mutombo, and tied up. It will be a jump ball. Dikembe Mutombo of the Denver Nuggets.
Well, Mutombo does a great job of retrieving that, but he just can't get the ball back up to throw it down.
Timeout called with 9:39 left in the fourth.
Where great taste runs in the family, brings you Miller Moments.
Tonight we look at some all-star magic. Magic Johnson voted by the fans to start in the 1992 All-Star game despite retiring prior to the season. And Magic with 25 points in 29 minutes and ended the game in storybook fashion to earn the MVP honors. In recognition of this moment, Miller will donate $1,000 to the Thurgood Marshall Scholarship Fund. There's Magic Johnson and his wife Cookie. Since Magic has made his return to the Lakers, they have won 4 of 5 games. The only loss at the hands of the Chicago Bulls.
You know, with him, there's always something extraordinary happening, and he's always on the edge of some dramatic moments. And the Lakers now actually think they have a shot at winning another championship with Magic Johnson back.
But followed by Peyton. So the East leads 104-88. Jackson has Brandon and Miller in the backcourt. Baker with Mourning and Howard up front. Didn't get it on. And Malone able to run it down. Sean Elliott off the dribble. Beautifully done. Yes, and it counts. And Sean hears it from the partisan San Antonio crowd.
Sean Elliott having his best year as a pro. Averaging 22 points a game, up from 18. Strong drive to the basket there. Got a little injury a couple of weeks ago. Went about a 5-game stretch where he just could not put the ball in the basket, and then bounced back the last 2 games before the All-Star break with big scoring games.
So here's a run by the West, an 11-2 spurt, and they have cut it to a 13-point East lead.
We got 9 minutes left in the game, so Matty's moving a little bit closer to the edge. You can see there, and he's starting to coach.
Reggie Miller with his 4th field goal. He has 8. The East has led by as many as 22 points. Stockton facing a double team.
Well, George Karl's one concern was the team shots were not going in the basket. He said their shots are hitting the rim. The East is getting nothing but the bottom of the net, and mistakes have hurt them as well.
Brandon. And Malone with the rebound. 7 rebounds for Malone. To cut it to a 13-point East lead.
That's why John Stockton is going to lead the NBA in assists for the 9th straight year. Bob Cousy did it 8 straight times. But he just knows when to deliver the ball. Waited for Mutombo to get his feet set to catch it and just make the easy finish.
What's the mental state of Phil Jackson right now? He's got a lead. It's been pretty comfortable. And you take a look at Mutombo come down the lane and adjust, maybe get an extra step, but, you know, that's when you really want Mutombo to have the ball going to the basket where he doesn't have to make a lot of adjustments. Does Jackson make some changes?
Well, I'm sorry, Marv. Yeah, I think he'd like to not have to use Michael Jordan or Scottie Pippen. He wouldn't mind putting Shaquille or Hardaway back in there to wear him out a little bit.
Here's Malone, and he is fouled by Baker. A moment ago, we saw a face-guarding foul that was called. As Mourning and Mutombo have been having some fun with each other.
Well, they have fun with each other all summer long and throw Patrick Ewing in there. And he said, hey, you're my teammate. Don't be doing that. Karl Malone along. Let me make a correction what I said earlier about the Sonics getting beaten in the first round. That was by the Los Angeles Lakers. It was the Utah Jazz who won 60 games last year and get knocked off in the first round by the Houston Rockets. So this is a kind of the same situation for Utah this year. They had Felton Spencer back. He's coming back from that injury, and they're going to need him to advance into the playoffs or advance very far.
Now, are you saying that Phil Jackson would use O'Neal before he would use his own man here?
Yes. I think
is there a little subtle politics being played here? I mean, after all, the Magic are chasing the Chicago Bulls.
Right. Keep Shaq happy, keep Penny happy, give them all the playing time they want now.
And Shaquille is back on the floor. Goes to the fadeaway. The West had a 15-4 run going. It is now the East with a 108-95 lead. 7:20 remaining in the fourth quarter. Nice goal by Shaquille. Howard stretch. Malone pops it down. Miller back. Payton behind the back. Saved by Elliott. Stockton for 3. Rebounded by Payton. Larry Payton getting inside. The East 108 and the West 97.
But the wheels are definitely turning over there on that East bench right now as Phil Jackson talking to his assistant coaches, Jimmy Rogers and Texas Jimmy Clement.
Traveling violation, so the West will get it back. Timeout called. 6:47 remaining, fourth quarter.
Our game is brought to you by Nike, who encourages you to participate in the lives of America's youth. By McDonald's, the official break of the NBA. Have you had your break today? And by Acura, who introduces the Acura SLX, the most civilized way to leave civilization.
Welcome back to San Antonio, Texas, where the East leads 108-97 over the West. Our Jim Gray is alongside new Hall of Famer, the Iceman, George Gervin.
All right, thank you very much, Marv. I am now joined by the Iceman, George Gervin. And, George, you just got into the Hall of Fame. You were saying before we came on the air here, you were very nervous about it. 3 years in the ABA and then 9 in the NBA. You were nervous about getting in, huh?
I was a little nervous. I was a little nervous, but, yet I was kind of confident, too.
You spent so many years here, 12 years here in San Antonio. Yet you played in the old Hemisphere Arena doing that finger roll all those years. There were 3,000 or 4,000 people. Does it gratify you to see 36,000 here today?
It just gratified me to see so many people in San Antonio and the world to be able to see what a great city San Antonio is.
All right, guys, we're happy for you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Let's go back to Marv.
All right, Jim. Stockton unleashing from downtown. Well, the Iceman among a group of 6 new inductees, including Nancy Lieberman Clyde, who I'm told wanted both of you one-on-one at at some point.
I saw her play in a USBL game against men and more than held her own.
The West with a 17-6 run in this fourth quarter, cutting that 22-point lead in half. Shot clock is down to 1. Brandon got it off. Howard missed on the step. Stockton. Malone.
This group doesn't have many finishers out there, and it's going to be real tough for the West to get back in it. After they make mistakes, they need to have open court players to finish, and right now the only one really that really excels in that is Karl Malone, and he's not running with a great deal of energy.
Nice move again by Shaquille. He has 20 points. It was Shaquille with an enormous third quarter that helped turn this game around to give the East that 22-point lead. Payton with the spinning move and fouled by Howard.
Well, let me ask you, Steve, before you get me with time running down here, 5:29 to go, Michael Jordan or Shaquille O'Neal?
Well, since the coach put him back in, Shaquille O'Neal. I mean, Shaq has really exploded in the second half, gave him that energy along with Michael Jordan. I think that Michael Jordan is easily the sentimental choice, but it looks like Jordan is going to finish the game on the bench, and O'Neal is going to be out on the floor. He may end up scoring more points.
And the stat line on George, 8 of 11 from the field, 20 points in all. O'Neal 9 of 15 for his 20. The East with a 110-98 advantage with 5.5 remaining. Fourth quarter. Here's Grant Hill replacing Juwan Howard. Gary Payton is now 5 of 5 from the line. He's had a solid game, 15 points in all.
Marv, as a basketball historian, you've been around a lot of teams.
Historian.
That's right, a historian.
I've never heard that. Wow.
Now think about this. All we've been hearing and talking about is a 70-win season for the Chicago Bulls. They've kind of tried to say that the reason it's possible is there's a lot of bad teams. Is there any team that you have ever seen that could have won 70 other than the Lakers, who won 33 in a row?
Yeah, I think some of those Boston Celtics teams, and I think the Knicks of the early 70s would have also done the same. They would have had that type of... Even Robinson off the lead pass, and this is now a 9-point game with 4:50 remaining in the fourth. Will we see Michael Jordan step back on? Shaquille O'Neal. And he'll head to the line.
Well, as I was saying before, the only way you can get back in basketball games when you're down by a lot of points is great defensive plays or even good defensive plays. But a terrific strip there and a perfect alley-oop lob to David Robinson.
But, Coach, we have to finish the play.
Well, Shaquille is now 2 of 7 at the foul line. The West in this fourth quarter has outscored the East 21-8. And they have made their way back into it. Shaquille hits 1 of 2 from the line. And it is now 111-101, the East by 10.
George Karl telling me yesterday that if the game got close to the fourth quarter, he would consider not only double-teaming Shaq, but fouling him and making him go to the free throw line.
Richmond gets it out to Kemp. Kemp coming up short. Not a good shot, even for an all-star game. Hill's pass broken up. Here's Payton leading Richmond. Hardaway back. Richmond going to the left hand to bring it with an 8. 4:05 remaining in the fourth.
Matty's itchy over here. He really thinks that this thing is about to exchange, and we might even go into OT, but Phil Jackson is awfully calm over there and thinks that his team's got this thing under control.
Hardaway for 3.
That's why his team has things under control. When you got Hardaway out on the floor coming down the stretch of fourth quarters, he rarely fails.
11 points, 7 assists for Penny Hardaway. 3.5 remaining fourth quarter. Hill able to beat Payton to the ball. Hardaway again from downtown.
That's the bad part about comebacks. Everything has to go perfect. And if it doesn't, you look back up there now, it's a 14-point game. Matt just left.
And Payton able to hit on the drive. But Penny Hardaway with the consecutive three-point shots just as the West was making its move. It is now the East 117 and the West 105. Just under 3 minutes to go in this fourth quarter. They double up on Mourning. Foul is called.
Well, I think we've seen three terrific performances on the East. Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal, and this man on the last 2 3-pointers to put the daggers into the hearts of the Western squad as Penny Hardaway sensing the moment and taking advantage of it.
And this is Hardaway from deep in the corner, able to knock it down. It is now the East up by 12.
The Bulls are set to challenge the NBA win record. Reggie Miller and the Indiana Pacers are just one of 5 teams to have beaten them this season. Now they meet again. Then Hakeem and the Rockets face Mr. Robinson and the Spurs, or the Hornets host the Bucks. An NBA on NBC doubleheader next Sunday.
Well, there's always speculation about this point of the game as to who will be the All-Star Game MVP. You can see some great names in recent years who have taken the trophy. Among the candidates here tonight, Shaquille O'Neal with 21 points, 11 coming in the third quarter where the East was able to turn it around. Michael Jordan, 20 points, 8 of 11 from the field, and Penny Hardaway has come on strong. 14 points, 7 assists, and hit the 2 big ones from downtown for the West. Gary Payton has had a strong game with 18 points. Jason Kidd with 8 assists. Here's Hardaway and rebounded by Robinson. 2.5 to go in the fourth quarter. It is a 12-point lead for the East. Richmond. David Robinson with 16 points. It is now the East by 10. Who do you guys like?
I'm going to take the guy that's been getting everybody the ball in Hardaway. He broke the spirit early with his distributing of the ball and then made some big shots at the end. He's only missed 2 shots in the ball game.
Nice move by Juwan Howard to extend to the 119-107 lead. And the foul is called.
A missed shot and then an explosive effort by David Robinson. And the West, I can't believe it, but too little, too late.
Foul committed by Robinson, putting Kemp at the line for the first time. Nice stat line for the Admiral.
Now he wanted to have a big game. I'm going to go with Shaquille O'Neal. Shaq grew up his formative years here in San Antonio, played at Cole High School, won the Texas State Championship his senior year, has not had the best moments as a pro here in San Antonio. It would be a nice honor for Shaq to win his first All-Star MVP right here in one of his hometowns.
Hill not able to hit. Here is Shaquille trying to tee it up. And the foul. Matt, as you know, it is so difficult and annoying to agree with you, but
this could be a first.
I think it will be.
I don't believe you're not going to take Michael Jordan.
No. Jason Kidd with the foul. Michael had a splendid game, but I don't think he's been on the floor enough. And has sat out throughout this fourth quarter.
But his presence was clearly felt in the way that the Eastern Conference All-Stars came out and started the game. They just looked like a much more confident team. Basically, it was the same Eastern Stars as a year ago. They got drilled by 20. Charles Barkley told Lance Storm earlier this evening that he felt that the East wanted to make up for that, and he said that Michael Jordan told him so on about the 15th hole the other day.
Here's Richmond, 3. He's been off. The tip. Couple of tips missed, and then it is put home.
David Robinson, who doesn't have the reputation of doing a lot of board work, particularly on the offensive end, has done it today. That's where he got most of his points on tips, and that was 3 efforts by him.
Robinson with 18 points. Hill. And last touch by Howard of the East. The West coming into tonight had won 3 of the last 4 All-Star meetings. The East in the overall series has won 28. The West has won 17. Open shot for Sean Elliott from downtown. for the East with a 121-113 lead with 1:04 remaining in this fourth quarter.
See Scottie Pippen look over to Phil Jackson to ask if he wanted the timeout. Phil ignored him.
And the foul is called as Elliott is called for the hole.
Well, I think that Phil's done all of the coaching that he wanted to do. Once they popped the game open to a 20-point lead, he basically has had that professor look on his face. And
we are in the penalties?
I think it's more of a send-like.
I'll just tell you what, time I said it, we had it. I'll give you an
I messed up. Hard scoreboard. So Hardaway at the line. Phil Jackson coached the East squad in 1992, lost to the West. Looking for his first All-Star coaching victory. George Karl in his second All-Star experience, coached the West in 94, which was a losing effort for the West. Just under 1 minute remaining in this fourth quarter. Elliott tried to go to the crossover and lost it. And you hear the reaction from the crowd. Shaquille, although, as you mentioned, it is one of his hometowns, has not been a popular figure here in San Antonio. Elliott hitting the three, and in particular, in that instance, he did it in the face of David Robinson of the Spurs. And they have a little rivalry going that at times has been on the testy side.
Oh, it has been, and David has basically had the better of it, and they're going to meet again. And he's going to remember that Miller moment.
Yes. Oh, Steve programming now.
Well, it's not going to be during this regular season. If they're going to meet, it'll be this year. It'll be in the NBA Finals in June. And, you know, Shaquille has not had particularly sterling all-star experiences in his first 3 years anyway. That first year, I remember he was upset with Pat Riley for not giving him what Shaq thought was enough minutes. The next year, George Karl, he felt ordered double teaming. Of course, George did not. And last year, the South beating by the West.
Kemp not able to hit. 25 seconds remaining as Hardaway gets it. For Howard. They were planning that one. Here's Elliott. And the East lead 127-118. 15 seconds left.
I think Shaq will shoot the three now. He's hanging out beyond the line.
Yes, he is. I don't know if Hill has a feel for it as he gets it up for Hardaway. Final seconds. We will stay with you for the announcement of the most valuable player of this 46th All-Star game. So the East has defeated the West 129-118 to stop the recent success string of the West, which had won 3 of the last 4. We'll be back with the MVP winner in a moment.
This is the NBA on NBC, the NBA All-Star Game.
Back in San Antonio, the East with the victory over the West. Now for the announcement of the winner of the Most Valuable Player Award. Let's go to Ahmad Rashad.
It is now time to make the presentation to this year's NBA All-Star MVP. And to make that presentation, the commissioner of the NBA, David Stern.
Thank you, San Antonio, for being such gracious hosts and hostesses. And thank you, Michael Jordan, for winning your second MVP, 20 points, 4 rebounds. It's nice to have you back. Congratulations.
Yeah. All right, Michael, this time, it seems to me you really enjoyed yourself this time.
I had a good time, man. Quite naturally, it's unexpected. You know, I had a good time. I think everybody had a good time. Shaq played extremely well. I thought he was the MVP. I think he could have easily been. David Robinson, I think you were a great host. I think this weekend turned out to be a great weekend, and I had a good time.
All right, congratulations to you.
Thank you.
All right, back to you, Marv.
Well, a humble statement from Michael Jordan. Guys, as I said all along, I felt Jordan is the MVP. 20 points in 22 minutes for Michael. Back in the Alamo City, the East over the West of the NBA All-Star Game. Shaquille O'Neal, the high point man, with 25. Michael Jordan with 20. Penny Hardaway, 18. Grant Hill at 14. David Robinson and Gary Payton led the West with 18 points. Michael Jordan, the MVP. Again, the final, the East 129 and the West 118. The NBA on NBC returns next Sunday with a doubleheader, starting with Showtime at 12:30 Eastern. In Game 1, Michael and the Bulls take on Reggie and the Pacers. In Game 2, most of you will see Hakeem Olajuwon of the world champion Rockets go up against David Robinson and the Spurs. Some of you will see the Bucks and the Hornets. Coming up next, the world premiere movie, In the Line of Duty, Smoke Jumpers. West Coast viewers will see the show at 9 o'clock Pacific. For Matt Gukas, Steve Jones, Ahmad Rashad, Hannah Storm, and Jim Gray, I'm Marv Albert saying so long from San Antonio. This has been the NBA on NBC.